very much. It's still not working. Oh, here we are, thanks. I am so excited on this cool spring morning. So many wonderful and lovely and handsome faces here. This is the largest crowd that we have had since we have had this for the last 3 years. And we are just delighted to have everybody here. This is the largest crowd. My name is Emma Bradford Perry, and I'm the Dean of Libraries here at Southern University. And on behalf of the library faculty and staff, we are so delighted and honored that you are here today to help us celebrate the life of an outstanding poet, Dr. Pinky Gordon Lane. To all of you that are here today, we thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join us here for this program. We hope that you will enjoy it, and we hope that you will enjoy what we have planned for you today. For those students that are here, we have an anthology for you, and make sure that you get your anthology, and it is free for each student who submitted a poem, and it is also free for the participating high school principals, directors, or whatever your title is, and also for the English teacher, the sponsors, the judges, and also the program participants. All others will have to purchase it for $10 today, and you may get that out at the desk there. I also want to let, since we have a lot of high school students here and we are focusing on high school students, we have the admissions table here out front there. So if you are interested in attending Southern University, this is your day, because we have someone out front that will be able to help you with applications, tell you about scholarships, anything that you want to know. So please stop by the admission table on your way out. So again, we are so happy that you are here today. So we will get started first with our invocation, and the invocation will be given by Mr. Stanley Jones, who is the director of the T.J. Jemison Baptist Student Union. Is Mr. Jones here? Mr. Jones is not here, and Ms. Robinson, that's my staff member. She's going to fill in for him with the invocation.
Let us bow our heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing all of these young people and those who have traveled from afar and close by to come together, dear God, to see the talent that you have given them. Father, we thank you for those who have traveled with them, their sponsors. We thank you for our program participants. Heavenly Father, we ask that you just continue to bless them with the gifts that come from up above. Father, it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. At this time, we will have greetings and the occasion. And again, I'm always thrilled, always delighted to have my good friend, Ms. Margaret Ambrose, who is the special assistant to the Chancellor, to come and support us at this program. She is here on behalf of the Chancellor, and she'll tell you a little bit more about that. As some of you know, Ms. Ambrose taught in the English department when Dr. Lane was chair of that department. So she has been at Southern for a long time, giving her service to this university. Her contributions to this university, they have been exceptional, outstanding, phenomenal. And she, whenever she decides to leave, will leave. Whenever she decides to leave, she will leave a very, very rich and unmatched excellence after she retires. And she didn't tell me to say this, but I understand that she is thinking about retiring this year. She said, not thinking, for real. But Ms. Ambrose, we are so happy to have you. And as I said before, Ms. Ambrose and I have been friends for a very long time in sorority sisters. And as I always say, this is her last time to be at this program in an official capacity because she's retired. And I must say once again, she and I attended the same school that Southern University plays in the Bayou Classic. Ms. Ambrose.
Thank you, Dean Perry. Good morning to all of you. Emma said I'm thinking about retiring, but I'm not thinking about it. I have thought about it, and I am doing it. So I'm excited about it, looking forward to it, of course, I'll be back sitting out in the audience when we have the Pinky Garden Lane program next year. So I'll be sitting a little further back. And on behalf of Chancellor James Lorenz, I bring all of you very warm greetings. Dr. Lorenz is in Atlanta, Georgia with some students this morning. They're participating on a very special program, so he's there to give them support and to make a presentation as well. I'm very happy to be here. This is one of my favorite programs. It's in its 3rd year, and I like it for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one is I get a chance to see some of my very good friends again. And I look out in the audience and see some of them now, Joanne Marks and Donna Britt and the Chambers sisters is what I call them. They're sitting in the back, and then there are others that I see. And I'm just delighted to have that kind of reunion with them. And the other reason that I'm delighted is because Emma is right. For 10 years, I served as assistant professor of English in the English department. And during that time, Pinky Garden Lane was my chairperson. So I got a chance to really, really appreciate and understand to some degree, because you know she always told us that if we were not poets, we couldn't understand them totally. Joanne is smiling when I say that. And she sometimes was a little impatient with us because we couldn't, but she forgave us in the end. And so Pinky was a delightful person. She was a brave person who decided that she wanted not to be known as an African-American poet, but as a poet. And so she crossed all lines in terms of age and gender and race and everything. And I think it was wonderful that she did. And that's one of the reasons that I'm happy to be here. The third reason is because we are honoring some very special people this morning. And they are high school students who dared, at this time in their lives, to allow their creative, poetic juices to flow. So I want to salute them, because I know that it's kind of a brave thing to do, and they're smiling because I think they're in a very elite group of class of students, and I think that it's very good that we're going to honor them today. I want all of you to know who participated in this contest that you're all winners. Whether Donna recognizes you by name this morning or not, you are winners because you have dared to express yourself creatively and, most importantly, poetically. You could have decided to just do it in prose, but you didn't do that. So that means that it's a bit more of a challenge. So I want to congratulate you and commend you and encourage you to continue. This then, ladies and gentlemen, is the occasion. We are going to honor these wonderful young people this morning. And so right now I congratulate and commend all of them as I take my seat. And I know that you are going to enjoy and relish this moment along with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ambrose, so appreciated. Next on the program is the musical selection, and that will be done by one of our own students, Marcelle Radcliffe, and she will do our number for it. Where's, right, okay, come forward.
Good morning. I was tipped this morning to sing a very befitting song. Here we go. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter Remind us how we used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. Then I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to look at anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them our sins of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. And I decided long ago never to look at anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live and believe. No matter what they take from me, they can take away my dignity. Taste of love is happening to me. Oh yes it is. I found the greatest love of all inside.
Talent that we have here at Southern University. Thank you so very much for that wonderful rendition of that song. At this time, we will have the introduction of our speaker, and the introduction will be done by Dr. Julie Kane. And if any of you were here last year, you know that Dr. Kane was our guest speaker. And so I hopefully surprised our guest speaker this time by having his good friend and his colleague to come to introduce him. He did not know she was coming today, but we are so happy to have her here. She is the Poet Laureate of Louisiana, and she is also Professor of English at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana. So we are so happy to have you, Dr. Kane. So you can come forward and introduce your friend and colleague.
Thank you so much for having me back this year, Dean Perry, and thanks to everyone for coming out to honor one of the greatest poets of Louisiana, Pinky Gordon Lane. When I arrived at Northwestern State University in the fall of 1999 as a new assistant professor, I quickly became aware of our most interesting and accomplished senior student. Some of you may know that William Broussard was then a two-time All-American center for the NSU Demons football team. But what you may not know is that his senior honors thesis at NSU's Louisiana Scholars College was on poet and writer Amiri Baraka, who was a contemporary of Pinky Gordon Lane's. I know the two of them served together as faculty on the Furious Flower Poetry Conference, and I know that Pinky in interviews cited Baraka and Gwendolyn Brooks as the two main influences on her own poetry. So that's a very interesting connection. Will went on to pursue a doctorate in rhetoric, composition, and the teaching of English at the University of Arizona. And from that point on, I think you all know his resume, which is detailed in the program. Record-breaking fundraiser for Northwestern as Associate Director of Athletics, one of the youngest athletic directors in the country at Centenary and here, and so forth. But writing has remained very close to Will's heart. He's, of course, published many scholarly articles. At NSU, he maintained a joint faculty appointment teaching both freshman writing and advanced writing courses. But he's also kept the soul of a poet. And I say that because in an interview for NSU's student newspaper, an undergraduate reporter wrote as follows: among many things, talking about his classroom teaching, among many things, people enjoy his love of metaphors, which makes his storytelling entertaining and interesting. When he left NSU to go to Centenary as athletic director, he actually came back for a day to guest teach in an interdisciplinary course on the Harlem Renaissance, which I was also involved in. And the whole time he was working at NSU as associate athletics director, although he was traveling all the time and in meetings all the time and teaching, he kept trying to make time to go to a community writers workshop that I was part of. And one week he emailed me as follows: I do have about 10 poems that I am concurrently reworking that should be ready for semi-public viewing by the 18th. I'm still waiting for that semi-public viewing, but I know that the wait will be worth it. Pinky Gordon Lane said you have to be a poet in order to understand poetry, and therefore I think we could not have a better choice for today's speaker to honor Dr. Pinky Gordon Lane than Dr. William Broussard. And please join me in giving him a warm welcome.
Give me just a couple of seconds to set up here. Well, thank you very much. This was indeed quite a surprise. Thank you so much, Dr. Kane. I remember sitting here about a year ago at this event when you were the speaker, and I remember how thrilled I was to be able to hear you read and to share your love of poetry. And it's indeed some big shoes that I have to fill this morning. But I want to take just a couple of seconds to welcome all of you to Southern University, those of you who are visiting, to those of you who have returned, and most importantly to our honorees this morning, students who have participated in this poetry contest. I want to bring you greetings from the Southern University Athletic Department as well, and again extend congratulations to all of the honorees and participants, and to your parents, your families, your friends, and to your teachers and everyone who supports your work. I want to thank Dean Perry and the selection committee for inviting me to be a guest speaker. I did mention I've got some very big shoes to fill. Julie was a wonderful colleague in the English department at Northwestern State, someone I consider a friend, someone who counseled me when I was a young poet. I remember crashing her office one day, I believe that fall of 1999, for a poem that I was attempting to revise and get published. And I'm sure you had hundreds of papers to grade and committees to sit on and a million other things to be doing than wondering why this 6'1", 270-pound football player was walking into your office asking you for help on a poem, which must have been something surreal in retrospect. But I'll do my best this morning. I am probably an unlikely selection to have a college athletic director be someone to greet you on the occasion of this contest, a poetry contest, a celebration of poetry. But in addition to being an All-American football player and an All-State and Blue Chip All-American football player in high school, and always being a somewhat burly individual, although I'm a little bit more svelte these days than I was then. wear dark colors and pinstripes. It's the oldest trick in the book. I've long held a fascination and appreciation of poetry and for poets. That love began when I was 14 years old. And although I was popular among my friends and a pretty good scholar athlete, poetry was a way for me to deal with, I had pretty low self-esteem. And poetry was a way for me to grasp the world around me as I became a young adult. And also a way for me to confront the boredom and the ennui of growing up in a small town, which I love. I love Crawley, but it was a small town, and I didn't always share an enthusiasm and lust for life, and certainly political inclinations and views about the world with all of my friends and my peers. So at 14, it was the beginning of my love affair with poetry and with my dalliances and performing in the performing arts. I would also take up teaching myself the guitar around the same time and writing and performing music. I've been playing the guitar now for over 20 years. And also became involved in the theater arts and starred in several high school and community theater productions. So I've long been fascinated and in love with the arts, and I continue to have that appreciation. My love for the arts and athletics I consider to be in many ways twin loves. That love is embodied in my current workplace and in my approach to my job as an athletic director. The coaches who work in the athletic department here know that as they recruit student athletes, that I'm someone who values their intellectual capacity and ability as much as I will value their athleticism. I'm fond of saying that a 4.4 is nice, a 40 time of running a 4.4. A 4.4 is nice, but a 4.0 is even better. And so that's something that I continue to value and stress that my coaches value. The building where I work has a 4,000 square foot weight room in it and modern training facilities, but it also has classrooms and athletes where our student athletes work with with tutors, academic tutors and mentors. And in my office, when you walk in, you'll see a wall with retired jerseys and championship trophies along the mantle, but you'll also see my gigantic bookshelf filled with all of my favorite books in it. So I do consider my love for both athletics and the arts to be quite comparable. In ancient Greece, the gymnasiums would often train their bodies upstairs in wrestling and calisthenics, while downstairs they would be in classrooms being taught recitation and oration. So I see a lot of links between the modern college campus, where academic excellence is obviously important and paramount, but college athletics continues to grow and proliferate in importance on our campuses. Though I am not Julie Kane, I am not Pinky Gordon Lane, I am not a professional writer or a poet. I am an avid hobbyist at best, not talented enough to earn a living writing poetry or prose or performing as a musician. But expression through art has always been a critical piece of my personal development, and it's a thrill. It's exciting to see young people who share in that. I can imagine what kind of reward exists for you to be able to share your passion through art and have that be recognized by your peers. So again, I might appear to be an unlikely selection. I would say that probably the most common expression of art is in my storytelling. I can spin a pretty good yarn, but though my appearance, history, and profession might belie a love of the arts, it's undoubtedly pivotally important in my life to this day. My love of poetry began somewhat typically as a sufferer of puberty, loving traditional love poets' ability to express themselves to the fairer sex. I loved Shakespeare, I loved Marlowe, and I particularly loved Edmund Spenser, whose sonnets were thrilling, challenging, and affirming. A particular favorite of mine from Amoretti reads as follows: "Be not dismayed that her unmoved mind doth still persist in her rebellious pride, and love not like to lusts of baser kind, the harder won, the firmer will abide. The dureful oak whose sap is not yet dried, is long ere it conceive the kindling fire. But when it once doth burn, it doth divide great heat, and makes his flames to heaven aspire. So hard it is to kindle new desire in gentle breasts that shall endure forever. Deep is the wound that dents the parts entire, with chaste effects that naught but death can sever. Then think not long in taking little pain to knit the knot that ever shall remain. I heard something in those words that contemporary R&B in the 1990s really wasn't hitting on for me. Considering that, the popular songs of the day had titles such as Freak Me and Knockin' Boots and pretty much everything that R. Kelly put out before I Believe I Can Fly. So I just heard something different in that expression that really did resonate with me. I later became enamored with the works of modernists such as William Carlos Williams, Ezra Pound, and T.S. Eliot, who were from an age where poets were like the rock stars of their day, and at a time when people were likely to read and discuss poetry for entertainment, or as likely to do that as they are now to flip between CNBC and the financial reports and American Idol and Real Housewives. So it was a time in history that really just I was enamored with. And I remember particularly the first time that I read T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, how impactful it was on me as a modernist poem. And I've got a selection from it I'd like to read. From The Burial of the Dead, Part 1. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots of spring pain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprised us, coming over the Starnbergese. With a shower of rain, we stopped in the colonnade and went on in sunlight into the Hofgarten and drank coffee and talked for an hour. What always struck me about Eliot's poetry was how he combined a very simple expression and very simple, ordinary things. The observation of a landscape, but peppered it with very colorful and rich imagery, and with historical and literary references that truly challenged the reader to expand their horizons. That love of poetry continued to grow into an appreciation of the modernist works of Apollinaire, Lorca, Hughes, and a favorite modernist visual poet, E.E. Cummings, whose dazzling wordplay fascinated and challenged me at the same time, with its simplicity of expression and his ability to make the ordinary extraordinary. And I wanted to share an E.E. Cummings poem with you this morning, and Dr. Kane, you can probably appreciate this. I had to dig pretty deeply to find an E.E. Cummings poem that can actually be read. Because E.E. Cummings poetry, look at that. But anyway, a wonderful visual poet, did magical things with a typewriter, which for those of you who are in high school, just find someone a little bit older to explain to you what a typewriter is. But I'll read from his collection, No Thanks, a poem entitled Little Man. Little man in a hurry, full of an important worry. Halt, stop, forget, relax, wait. Little child who have tried, who have failed, who have cried, lie bravely down, sleep. Big rain, big snow, big sun, big moon, enter us. Such an important expression of how tied up we can get in all of our responsibilities, how fast things will move around us, and if we will just sometimes take the time to stop and enjoy the world around us, how magical this world can really be. It was mentioned earlier, my love of Amiri Baraka's work. And Amiri Baraka, who was born Leroy Jones, and who I wrote my undergraduate honors thesis about, is a complicated and controversial man. A fellow state poet laureate. He was a poet laureate of New Jersey for a weekend or two, and then published an extremely controversial poem and immediately had that title removed. But he started his career as one of only two black beat poets. If you've ever heard of the beat movement, he was a beat. And after getting into a more militant version of third world Marxism that he adopted and became Muslim, he railed against the presence of racism and bigotry in America. His contributions to theater, poetry, and music largely remain unheralded, which is unfortunate because there are these images of him in his beret speaking his poetry over a bass line and a drum which in many ways was a precursor to what we now know as rap music and spoken word poetry. But I do want to read a selection of his entitled Balboa the Entertainer. It cannot come except you make it from materials it is not caught from. The philosophers of need, of which lately I am one, will tell you, the people, and not think themselves liable to the same trembling flesh. I say now, the people, as some lesson repeated now, the lights are off, to myself as a lover, or at the cold wind. Let my poems be a graph of me, and they keep to the line where flesh drops off. You will go blank at the middle, a dead man. But die soon, love, if what you have for yourself does not stretch to your body's end. Where without preface music trails, or your fingers slip from my arm. And I'm going to attempt something that I don't know has ever been done, but there's this image that I have from Spenser's works, from Spenser's sonnets, where he talks about a poem being the most fitting expression of love that one can deliver to another. And he does so by comparing that to writing someone's name in the sand. Okay, so you think about etching your boyfriend or girlfriend's name in the tree, or writing their name in the sand, and then inevitably the tide comes in and washes that name away. And what Baraka does that's so important in this collection, The Dead Lecturer, is in a way he's burying his former self as Leroy Jones and emerging like a phoenix as Amiri Baraka. And he talks about letting his poems be the graph of him. Forget who I was. Forget who you might have known me to be. Let my words live on, okay? Longer than my bones and my flesh, and certainly more importantly than them. And so it inspired me and continues to inspire me as to how important words truly are. Words more than any other thing, than any material that we can create, or that anything that even grows up out of the earth. It is our words, our abilities to use and craft language that can truly generate change, that can truly create the world that we want to live in. And that is what has inspired me always so very much about poetry, and poets in particular. There is a braveness, there is a sense of wonder and daring that poets have to speak into existence what they truly believe, to speak into existence the worlds that they want to exist, but also have the audacity to believe that speaking those words will carry the weight, and that speaking those words will actually ultimately have that impact. So today, I am honored and humbled to share with you my own love, appreciation, and commitment to artists of all kinds, but particularly to poets. Your ability to not only capture the world through your descriptions, but to imagine a world anew, using the African concept of nomo, or word magic, to envision, and in doing so create a better world, is truly needed in what are troubling times, and will continue to be needed to heal a world around us that is under the constant threat of disruption. Eliot's words as he ends The Wasteland are still so gripping to me, particularly as we think about 9/11, Columbine, Aurora, Newtown, Boston, Baghdad, Kabul, and so many other parts of the world torn apart by senseless violence and war. There are apt descriptions in The Wasteland of cities torn apart, lives completely destroyed. And yet, in it, he captures the earth's and us as humans, we as humans, our ability to regenerate, to recreate, and to thrive once more. In closing, he says, "The boat responded gaily to the hand expert with sail and oar. The sea was calm. Your heart would have responded gaily when invited, beating obedient to controlling hands. I sat upon the shore fishing with the arid plain behind me. Shall I at least set my lands in order?" And then his final words as the poem ends, "Data, dayadvam, damyata." Give, sympathize, control. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace, peace, peace. The peace which passeth all understanding. Again, congratulations to all of you. Thank you for your bravery, your desire, and your passion. And thank you again, Dean Perry, and to the members of the Pinky Gordon Lane Selection Committee for inviting me to be your guest speaker this morning.
Dr. Broussard, thank you. We did not go wrong. How many athletic directors in the United States can talk about poetry like you did? That was absolutely wonderful. We so appreciate that. Moving right along, we will now have the winners, our honorable mentions, and at this time, Dr. Moreland will be the person that will recognize those persons that were honorable mentioned. And Dr. Moreland is on the English department at LSU, and he has been with us since we started this 3 years ago, and he has served as a judge, and we are so appreciative. Dr. Moreland.
Thank you, and I do remember myself trying to teach Mary Baraka in a graduate seminar at LSU, and I got a little flack for it, but I'm a fellow admirer. I just want to say how much I have enjoyed being a judge the last 3 years. I really look forward to this. It's a lot more interesting and fun for me than the paper pushing that I do most of my day. And it's especially impressive and gratifying for me to see the kind of talent and creativity and intelligence and thoughtfulness that you see in all the poems, really, that we look at as judges. The hard part is trying to decide on the winners. I'm here to present the honorable mentions. I should say that in the first round of voting, one of these honorable mention poems was my first choice. I'm not going to say which one, and I lost out in the first round. I think we did a great job in our selections, and it's just tough sometimes deciding who gets first, second, and third, and so forth. But I think we're going to have the honorable mentions read their poems.
Yes.
Great. And the first one is Rachel Ely, who's a 10th grader at McKinley Senior High School. I do want to also mention their teachers. Come on up here. Her instructor is Mrs. Lena Burrows, and her homeroom instructor is Mr. Christopher Fitzgerald. Looks like you got a hat. I don't know.
No. I'm a graduate of McKinley High School, and I just put that.
Oh, okay.
Bubblegum pink tongues roll behind worry-worn, stained teeth. Lips curl upward and pull taut, like a rubber band ready to snap, stretching sly eyes into a line so thin that you couldn't see an iris even if you tried. Eyebrows raise up to follow the effortless forehead creases formed by years of laughter. Cheeks fill with life and puff out as if to intimidate a predator, while chests cave in and force hands onto bent knees, arms over forward shoulders. Soon, the jubilant cacophony halts just as suddenly as it started. People grin with anticipation for the chance to laugh even more at something they'll soon forget.
I think they probably want And our next winner is also a student at McKinley Senior High School. Her English instructor is Mrs. Lena Burrows, and her homeroom instructor is Mrs. Gwen Gaspard, and it is Lucy Guo.
Every life, a different story, diverging, gone astray. Every action, another choice, regretting painful days. Every worry that we keep, wishing they'd fade away. Every mirror telling truths, revealing dreams decay.
Also a student at McKinley Senior High, English instructor Mrs. Destiny Cooper, and homeroom instructor Mrs. Ann Maverick. Liz Hamlin.
This poem's titled The Day Music Died. Me and my brother play beat games, with clapping hands and stomping feet. Being a musician runs in my family. It started with my grandfather, who had a fetish for the corner of the French Corner, a symphony of smells and sounds from Café du Monde beignets to saxophone jazz and Zydeco. It was nothing more than a cacophony of orphan artists just looking for their own corner of someone's heart to find shelter in. He used to stand there and play for hours. With a heart as open as his sax case, he'd take anything they'd have to offer. Monetary tips or passing suggestions of travelers and musicians trying to find that little French Quarter corner of their own hearts somewhere. When Katrina hit, we had to leave it all behind. With a car that barely held a family, the sax never made it in the emergency evacuation. When I started to cry, he said, "Listen, sugar, just because the instrument is gone doesn't mean the music stops. We carry it with us." More than 7 years later, I stand here at the corner my grandfather never had the chance to return to, and I try to recall the music, but it just all seems so quiet.
And our other honorable mention is not here, so I get to read the poem. Kayla Smith is an 11th grader at Caddo Parish Magnet High School. They have an award ceremony today, and she must be winning some other award, so she couldn't come. Her English instructor is Mr. Daniel Geyer, and her homeroom instructor is Mrs. Deborah Moorhead. And the title of the poem is Snow Globe. One of the little... Every day I look out past the glass that confines me and past the fake buildings, through the fake snow that piles up around me, and around the glittery bubbles that promise air but never deliver. I see the real world carrying on with its oh so important business. I see people rushing past, too busy to notice me as I try to break the glass and escape my prison.
Thank you so much, Dr. Molan, and congratulations to the winners. I just wanted to let you know that McKinley had 5 winners of the 8 that we had. So you'll be hearing from McKinley again. And I also want you to know that Mr. Ed Pratt, where is he? Right. Mr. Ed Pratt is a graduate of McKinley High School. As you notice, he put his hat up, and he reminded me of that yesterday when I talked with him. And on another note, the newly elected SGA president, I don't know if she's here or not, Simone Bray is also a graduate of McKinley High School. So at this time, we are down to the real nitty-gritty of this. Our first, second, and third place winner. And Donna Brett will have that honor. She has been with us for 3 years also. Just be quiet, Donna. And we just love her to death. She always supports this program, and we appreciate it so much. She's been here for the last 3 years, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Barrett. You know this woman's capable of bragging too much, okay? You gotta move her out of there. I do want to encourage you to read the book. I get one every year, and I'm not going to be lacking in taste, but I put it in a place where I will see it and read brief things, okay? And I read it cover to cover. What I'm impressed with is the invitation that a poem makes to a young mind and the way they examine what they're going to say before they put it on the page. I just think that this is very good if you want to take a walk down Wonder Lane and remember what it was like when you were that age. I think it's wonderful. I'm going to read Sarah Rokaw's 11th grade, 4th place winning poem, and I'm wondering if you have the anthology in your lap. Because poetry to me is also about how it lies on the page, she's on page 8. And I'm going to read her, and you can follow along. Correct me if you like. But page 8 in your anthology. Her teacher is Dr. Daniel Gayer, and homeroom instructor is Deborah Moorhead. They're the ones at the ceremony today. Memories of a lake house. Sable kisses the earth as the fiery rays slip into deep slumber. A silky breeze caresses the emerald foliage atop the grandiose maple tree, and dewy air swelters the crickets chirping a melody beyond human comprehension, though somehow translating to music rather than noise. Moonlight drips onto the pond as we capture illumination in a measly aluminum bucket, forgotten on the back porch of the lake house. After that one summer when we set off fireworks and watched them dance on the glassy water deep into the night. But the first time back since won't be the last. Chasing fireflies for a small spark of our own. A fragile existence with importance that overreaches our imagination in the grand scheme of the world. And even once the little lamps are gone, twinkling memories in permanent jars were stored under the murmurs of the stars while we stole one night from a life forgotten and left behind. Miss Sarah Rokaw. All right, keeping with the page theme, if you like looking how it lies on the page, everybody turn to page 50 in your hymnal. And we're going to invite Kelvin Wells to come on up. Kelvin goes to McKinley High School, and yes. This is getting annoying, Mr. Pratt. No, he's a friend of mine. I want you to know that. And he's also the first black editor at the Advocate newspaper, as we know from an award he got yesterday, Mr. Pratt. He's a hitter at the Advocate. Okay, so Kelvin, I need to tell them that your instructor is Ms. Lena Burrows, and go for it.
The title of my poem is Creation. God stepped out onto endless nothing, planted his feet firmly on the void, and called forth light from its ethereal abode. He unfurled the scroll of the sky and painted across it a single line, across which darkness cannot pass and no light can shine. He called one of them day and the other night. Then he reached into his internal robes and flung out the planets, whirling in orbits that math cannot explain. He dipped his finger into the chalice of eternity and sprinkled glowing mysteries we can only describe as stars. Then he twisted them into galaxies and nebulae. Then he reached into the raging sea and wrestled out the earth, rugged and unforgiving. He reached into his infinite bag of mysteries and removed seeds that he sowed into the virgin earth, and then grass and trees and all green things sprang forth. He dabbed his immortal brush onto the easel of infinity and painted shapes and colors that came to life as animals, large and small, flying, creeping, and crawling. Finally, like an omnipotent child kneeling in a great cosmic sandbox, the master of all scooped up some clay, rolled and shaped until there in his hands lay a man. And then he looked down and saw it was all good. On the seventh day, God rested.
All right, wait, Kelvin, you're the first one that's here. You get a prize. You have to go over here. And you need to pose for pictures. Yes, come right here. No, I don't want to get pictures. I'm a TV person.
Yeah, hold it. Okay, hold it.
He gets it too. He gets it.
Oh, a Kendall fire. And who's it from? Who gave it to her? Southern, oh, the Southern Credit Union gave this to you. It's yours, young man. All right, proud English instructor Ms. Lena Burrows taught this young woman. Homeroom instructor is Mr. Rhett Fitzgerald. Please welcome Catherine Zhu, 9th grader from McKinley Senior High. Page 51.
Rebirth. A single white lily, snowy petals outstretched, like an artist's careful drawing, delicately sketched. But as night falls, a chill wind sets through the air, and the flower withers away, leaving the soil almost bare. But even in the fiercest gale, and in the strongest storm, the frozen earth can never forget the white lily that had been born. And even if it seems that loneliness was its sole friend, remember that the flawless lily will come to bloom again,